Today we are looking at a poem by Du Fu, one of the greatest poets China has ever produced. He lived during the Tang Dynasty in the 8th century, a golden age of Chinese poetry. Du Fu is often called the poet historian because he wrote about the real suffering of ordinary people, not just beautiful scenery. This poem is the first of 9 frontier songs, and it hits hard from the very first line. The year is around 749, and the Tang Empire under Emperor Xuanzong is expanding its borders aggressively in every direction. Young men are being conscripted and sent to distant frontiers like Jiaohe, a military outpost far in the western deserts. Du Fu wrote this from the perspective of a common soldier, a nobody, marching off to a war he does not understand. It is a complaint, a protest, and a heartbreak all folded into 8 short lines. Here is the poem, read first in Chinese and then in English translation. Chi Guli, sorrowfully I leave my homeland behind. Yo Fu Jiaohe, endlessly I journey toward distant Jiaohe. Gongja Yo Chengqi, the government has set fixed deadlines for my arrival.亡命嬰禍羅, those who flee get tangled in a net of disaster.君已富土境, you, my lord, already possess vast and abundant territory.開邊一何多, why must you open the frontiers so endlessly?棄絕父母恩, I sever the bond with my father and mother.吞聲行負戈, I swallow my grief and march forward bearing a halberd. That is the entire poem, just 8 lines, but carrying enormous weight. Every word is chosen with precision, and nothing is wasted. Now let us go through it slowly, line by line. The poem opens with 2 emotional adjectives placed right next to each other, and that placement is no accident. Chi means anxious, fretful, heartsick, the inner feeling of someone being torn from everything they know. Yo means long, drawn out, seemingly without end. The road ahead stretches on forever into the unknown. One word turns inward, the other reaches outward, and together they frame the entire emotional landscape of the poem. Jiaohe was a real military outpost in the far western frontier, near modern-day Turfan in what is now Xinjiang. That is thousands of miles from the Chinese heartland, across deserts and mountains that most soldiers had never seen before. The soldier is not heading out on an adventure or seeking glory. He is simply being sent, like a package with a delivery date. The sheer distance itself becomes a form of punishment, a slow exile disguised as patriotic duty. Now the poem shifts from personal emotion to cold institutional reality, and the temperature drops. Gojak, the government, the state, the machine, has a schedule, a deadline, a date stamped on your life. There is no room for negotiation, no compassion, no appeals process, just a day you must arrive by or else. The language here is clinical, bureaucratic, almost cruel in its precision, and that is exactly the point. And what happens if you try to run away from your conscription instead of reporting for duty? Wangming, fleeing for your life, deserting your post, only lands you deeper in trouble, not out of it. Yinghua, it means being entangled in a net of disaster, like a bird caught in a hunter's snare. Struggling only makes it worse. You cannot stay home, and you cannot run away. Every door is locked from both sides. Now the poem makes a sharp turn, and the soldier addresses his ruler directly, almost defiantly. Jin, you, the emperor, the sovereign, you already have rich and abundant territory, more land than any nation needs. The word fu means wealthy, well-supplied, overflowing. This is not a struggling kingdom begging for more room to survive. This is an empire that already has more than enough, and yet it keeps reaching for more. And then comes the question that gives the poem its moral weight and its lasting power.開邊一何多, why must you open the frontiers so relentlessly, so endlessly, so needlessly? Yihura is an exclamation in classical Chinese, like saying how excessively, how outrageously, how much is enough. It is a quiet accusation spoken by a man with no power, and that is precisely what makes it so devastating. The penultimate line brings the cost home, quite literally, from the battlefield to the family doorstep.棄絕 to sever, to cut off completely, to abandon the grace and love of your father and mother. In Tang society, filial piety was not just a personal value. It was the absolute foundation of the entire social and moral order. Being sent to the frontier meant abandoning the very people who gave you life, and that was considered a profound betrayal. And the poem ends with one of the most quietly devastating images in all of Chinese poetry. Tun sheng, swallowing the sound, choking back the sob that desperately wants to come out but cannot. Xing fuge, marching forward, one foot after another, while carrying a halberd on your back. There is no rebellion here, no dramatic speech, no heroic last stand. Just a man walking silently toward a war he never chose. Here is something worth knowing about the context behind this poem. Du Fu wrote 9 of these frontier songs in a series, not just this one, and they follow the same soldier throughout his journey. This first poem is the departure scene, and the later ones only get darker and more bitter as the reality of war sets in. Du Fu himself never served as a soldier, which makes his deep empathy for the common conscript even more remarkable. This poem was written during the same period of aggressive expansion that eventually triggered the catastrophic Lushan Rebellion in 755. The Tang obsession with endless frontier campaigns was stretching the empire dangerously thin, weakening it from within. Du Fu could see the cracks forming in the walls long before they actually came down. This little 8-line poem is one of the earliest and clearest warnings that anyone bothered to write down. What makes this poem so powerful, even after 1200 years, is its remarkable restraint. 8 short lines, and inside them an entire moral critique of war, empire, and the human cost of ambition. Du Fu does not shout or lecture. He lets a foot soldier speak, and that soldier quiet grief is louder than any battle cry. Thanks for reading along today, and I will see you next time with another poem.
萋萋去故里，悠悠赴交河。公家有程期，亡命婴祸罗。君已富土境，开边一何多。弃绝父母恩，吞声行负戈。